Hello, hello, welcome. Hey, Minifer. Hey, hey. Tonight's gonna be fun. I'm taking some chances tonight in deck building, and we'll see if it'll be rewarded. Not 100% sure, but I feel good about the list. Hello, everyone. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site dedicated to legacy death and taxes, and indeed, that is what I am playing tonight. So, recently, I've been kind of taking a really value-oriented take on D&T, sort of going and ignoring a lot of the traditional wisdom about D&T to better suit myself for the metagame. So just to flash this list up here tonight, this is more or less what I've been playing for about the past, 2 months now. I've fluctuated on the number of Chalice of the Voids in the sideboard, but I felt really good about them. So kind of what you notice about this list is that a lot of the traditional sideboard hate that's normally here isn't, and I'm just playing more cards for fair matchups. You don't see things like Aethersworn Canonist, you don't see Containment Priest, Surgical Extraction, Very Macabre, a lot of the common stuff. And I think the Death Shadow Delver deck has kind of pushed a lot of the combo decks out of Legacy. And there's a lot of like Miracles and Grixis Control right now. I would consider those to be probably the two best decks of the format. And because of that, things are just super fair. If the decks to beat are like Miracles, Grixis Control, Death Shadow Delver, and like maybe D&T, do you want to be playing combo? I think the answer is no. You don't want to be playing most combo decks. Now, there are some, like Dredge. I think Dredge is like super, super well positioned right now. But I think generally speaking, the metagame's super fair. And because of that, I'm trying some wilder deck building choices. So for example, I'm on a single Phyrexian Revoker. Is that card good against Miracles? No. Is that card good against Grixis Control? No. Is that card good against Death Shadow Delver? No. It's not in the deck. I'm keeping one as a tutor target because it's super important for some matchups, and like I still want to have access to it for the mirror, but I don't know that this card's actually all that great right now. Similarly, a lot of people in the D&T Discord have been hyping up Hallowed Spiritkeeper as a card to be good against Delver. Or not, sorry. Well, that's fine against Delver, but that's very, very good against Grixis Control, which is our big problem matchup of the moment. So to kind of plug my sponsor here real quick, if at any time you don't know what some of these cards I'm talking about are, you can click on the Cardboard Live extension on the left-hand side of your screen and scroll over any of the cards to go and see what they do. But I'm going to go ahead and read Hallowed Spiritkeeper real quick for anyone who doesn't know it. It's a 3/2 with Vigilance for 3. When it dies, you get X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So if Grixis Control keeps obliterating and obliterating and obliterating your cards, and eventually you stick one of these Hallowed Spiritkeepers, it's essentially a 3/2 unblockable. Because if it dies, you generate, 5, 6 spirit tokens that would be insurmountable for the Grixis Control deck, as value-oriented as it is. So I cut one Mirran Crusader for a Hallowed Spiritkeeper, and I cut one Phyrexian Revoker for a Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista is something that I've been boarding in a lot. It's very good against Miracles. Well, it's fine against Miracles. It's very good against Grixis Control. It's very good in the mirror, and I think that's a good combination of overlap. Against those control decks, in the late game, you just cast it for like 3 or something like that, and if they don't immediately answer it, you just keep pumping and attacking, pumping and attacking, pumping and attacking, until they point a removal spell at it, at which point you just send like all the damage directly to their face. It's been quite good there. In the sideboard, again, every week I'm hedging more and more against fair decks, so we're going to try out a second Spirit Keeper and another Walking Ballista. over, let's see, what was there before? Over 1 Path to Exile for the second Ballista, and then the Ballista that's here was moved to the main deck, so that's what opened up the other slot. Hey, Coco Holly, welcome. All right, so let's just kind of get in here. Let's play some games. Let's see how this deck list works. I've not played any games with this exact deck list yet. This was just kind of something I wanted to do. I was considering like playing a green splash or something weird tonight, and I didn't quite have time to like draft that and put that together. The D&T donation deck list for tonight was just for generic D&T of whatever variety I wanted. So this is what I wanted to try. And thank you to Felchmaster9000 for the donation that goes and supports this stream tonight. There's that one Revoker that I never actually want to draw. I don't know what Lewis is on. He might be on Delver. He's played some other things recently. I'm not overly impressed with this hand. I'm going to ship it, try to find something more powerful with like a Mom or a Vial, and this fits the bill. No, this is a list of my own. I'm going to bottom that Jailer. So my plan is turn 1 Mom, turn 2 Thalia, turn 3 Wasteland, and I'd like to have like another 2 or 3 drop so that I can continue to press my tempo advantage. And now the frickin' Delver decks are playing Island. It's disgusting. I'm not going to attack with Mom. I have a Flicker Wisp in the following turns that can Stonewall the Delver. More other Delver. Note, my opponent showed me Stifle off of the Delver flip, so I don't want to just Flicker Wisp out one of my things. Good tech by Lewis here. So since he has double Delver, he can essentially use the first one as a scry and then try to flip the other one. Strong. Alright, so my opponent does not have Stifle mana up currently, so this is something that's safe to do. I go, and I Flicker Wisp my Flicker Wisp to effectively give it Vigilance. We go to the end of turn, my Flicker Wisp returns, I Flicker Wisp out one of my opponent's land, we'll Flicker Wisp out a Volcanic Island here. Just so my opponent can't do something stupid like Fork Bolt me. And then I'll take out the second one. Alright, so there's a Preordain there. Both Delvers are flipping. Peroku's list from the challenge was what I would consider deep. I don't think that was good. I don't think he thought that was good. It was an experiment, and there's nothing wrong with experimenting. Alright, so that was one bottom, one top with that. What a weird world I'm living in here. So I probably need to do at least 3 damage to my opponent. So the big question here is, does my opponent have Lightning Bolt? If my opponent doesn't have Lightning Bolt, I can just very handily win this race by attacking for 6 this turn, and then 9 the following turn. If my opponent does have Lightning Bolt... Actually, I guess that doesn't matter. Alright. So to play a pre-combat Hallowed Spiritkeeper, play it around days, Wasteland Volcanic Island. If my opponent wants to stifle that... Or no, I guess I don't do it. Oh, this is weird. So if my opponent blocks one of these Flicker Wisps, and I go to protect, my opponent can stifle it, so I almost want to stifle this now to guarantee I push damage. And my opponent can't trade. It's a weird spot. So if Lewis makes his block like this, I just Wasteland the Volcanic Island, and I either just get that Volcanic Island, or... Alright, so my opponent offers me the trade for both. So now I'll Wasteland Volcanic Island. And my opponent just floats. So that means that my opponent wants to use the Stifle here on a Mother of Runes activation, which I'm fine with, so it doesn't potentially get a Hallowed Spiritkeeper activation later. Note at this stage, I'm fine with attacking with both of these critters. I'm doing 4 damage a turn to Lewis's 3. And I don't care if Hallowed Spiritkeeper dies. I don't really care if Mom dies either. If my opponent does something like Bolt's Mother of Runes, then that's one more creature in the graveyard for Hallowed Spiritkeeper, which is overall what I'm going for right now. Nice, and we did it. Shouldn't have ticked up Vile. Could have filed in Ballista. That would have shown him. Put it in the graveyard immediately. That would be the tech. What if that was actually the correct play, though, Orem? Wouldn't that be sick? Congrats on your placement in the challenge, by the way. Well done. Alright, so we just saw blue-red, right? We saw double Valk and Island. Alright, so playing against blue-red Delver. One walkie-shooty thing main, one walkie-shooty thing sideboard. Alright, so playing against blue-red Delver. I guess Palace Jailer is kind of awkward against True Name. Maybe I don't want a second one. I usually don't play Recruiters. They're a little slow. Mirren Crusader is not the best here. This is also kind of medium. That list, though, that list is something special. Yes, that is indeed better. I guess there is the possibility that my opponent is Grixis. I should probably respect that. Keep one of these in. Cabal Therapy. Name rest in peace. E-Tutor for Cage. Get him. Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. Alright, since my opponent's playing True Name and probably multiple True Names, maybe I shouldn't run the second, like, the Jailer at all. So I have stable mana, but I don't have a nice follow-up play. This hand's really medium. Is this good enough on the draw, though, where I'm going to have, like, 2 draws to get to something nice? Like, if I hit a 2-drop, a removal spell, or even a Wasteland, I'm fine with this hand. This is on the borderline. I think I'm going to keep this one. Minifer, I'm really happy to hear that, and I do believe that taking care of yourself at events is really important and something that players don't do enough. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but, like, doing things like using the bathroom, like, drinking, you know, half a bottle of water or more around or something like that just keeps you so much clearer and crisper, making sure you're walking around, you know, having, like, different kinds of snacks for your different needs at varying times. Like, my tournament experience improved so much once I started carrying around, like, ibuprofen, Tums, some sort of sugary snack, like, let's say a Swedish fish, some sort of, like, nuts or jerky, some, like, granola bar type things. It matters. When you're just playing, like, the local, like, 5 or 6 round events in your store, you don't notice that wear and tear. And, like, later on, if you go and, like, get to the end, you like double draw into your top 8, and then you have like 2 hours to get food, and you don't notice it. Alright, opponent is Grixis. I almost registered Dawn of Hope tonight just to try it out. But I figured like playing with Hallowed Spiritkeeper was probably a safer bet. Alright, get super punished for playing that out. That's fine. There's only room for so much spice in each deck list. That's Porque no los dos. Alright, the second Walking Ballista, noticeably worse than a Path to Exile here. I'm fine with taking an Angler hit here. If my opponent's able to stall the ground, I have some good options available to me. Ooh, Stoneforge. Great. Slightly worried about like a Stifle. That'd be an annoyance. Braid targeting Flicker Wisp. Okay. That occurs. Okay, which piece of equipment do I want? I probably just want Jitte. Like, Jitte equipped next turn on Thalia. I can do first strike damage to Gurmag Angler, --, shoot with Ballista, and kill it. But I guess Sword of Fire and Ice accomplishes the same thing while also playing around a True Name. Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and gain 5 life and deal 1 damage to Lewis here. No, I think the way that I equipped was correct because it allows me to play around a removal spell, kind of. If I equip the other way, then I'm 100% taking the Gurmag Angler hit. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. That seems good. Lol. All right, we got a couple of very fine top decks towards the end of that game. In addition, Lewis's hand was pretty weak there. Like, hard cast Force of Will was his best follow-up to Gurmag Angler. Yeah, so I tutored for Sword of Fire and Ice rather than Jitte, like, to play around True Name, but in addition, just, like, the extra card or two we netted, getting us just a touch deeper, was super important that game. Yeah, Sword of Fire and Ice is the piece of equipment that I most commonly search up first when playing D&T, and I don't think that's where a lot of D&T pilots start. I think a lot of D&T pilots start by going and getting Batterskull, right? Like, oh, it's a threat. This Stoneforge needs to be answered right now, or Batterskull can take over the game. And sure, that's often true, but playing Sword of Fire and Ice promotes a slower game, which a lot of times is where you want to be going anyway. Who is Franklin F? I don't recognize that name at all, but Good to them. I've got a measly 2 trophies right now, which is fine. Like, 2 is where sort of the bottom half of the leaderboard is right now. But I spent a couple leagues this weekend playing with 4-color Loam off stream because I want to get better with that deck. I think it's quite good. And I'm going to be streaming with it as soon as we hit 2 more donation deck lists, so I don't want to embarrass myself while doing it. But that deck's really hard to play. And I definitely, like, 2-3'd my last league when I think I could have won forward if I had, like, fetched better. It's really hard to fetch lands when you're playing 4-color Loam, by the way. And I say this as someone who plays a crap ton of Legacy. Just to talk about something while I'm waiting for the queue to fire. So, like, this is what I was playing. And since you're playing 4 colors, you would think, oh, I have Savannah. The next thing I want to get is my Badlands, because that gives me all 4 colors. Well, a lot of times that's not actually true, because if you get Savannah Badlands, then you might not be able to cast something like Knight of the Reliquary. And there's a lot of similar problems where, like, you have black-black, green-white, and green-black combinations, as well as this whole, like, Punishing Fire, and it gets a little more complicated when you look at some of the stuff in the sideboard as well. So when you start factoring in, like, what if my opponent has a Wasteland? What if my opponent can blow up my my Mox Diamond? The decision trees in that deck are actually super interesting and rather difficult. All right, we got a match. All right, we got paired against Lewis again. Today is indeed Bully Lewis Day. I might just snap my Wasteland off on his Volcanic Island, especially if he shuffles. No, this is the same league for Lewis, I just asked. Alright, my opponent shuffled. Snapping off Wasteland. Let's try to get a free one. Woo! I'm going to do that next turn when I can play that around Daze. If this gets dazed here, I'm fine with that. Ooh, yeah, if it gets forced, awesome. So, like, next turn I can play Swords to Plowshares around Daze, and then deploy an Ether Vial or a Mom. Alright, no flip there, so that might be that land. You're not supposed to be able to, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. Alright, just slam turn in. So I know my opponent is playing Stifle. Keeping that in mind, I'm just going to go ahead and put this Mom in right now. The only way it's a little punishing is if my opponent has a Fork Bolt, but if that happens, then I still just bounce Thalia, so it's not actually a 2-for-1. Alright. By I mean, like, you're not supposed to. I assume their algorithm is built in a way where if they can avoid doing that, they do. Alright. Well, there's that exact scenario I talked about happening. Alright, so my opponent's Hellbent. Keeping that in mind, how do I want to play this? I can just go Stoneforge. Alright. I'm going to put this sword onto the battlefield because I want to play around either a Stifle or a discard spell from my opponent. Will I train Stoneforge for Young Pyromancer? No, I will not. Good God. Is that better? Probably not. But it's certainly an ace in the hole. Let's try to kill Young Pyromancer, see if there's like a Stifle. Nope, no Stifle. Do I need to port my opponent? I can port them off of Underground Sea for black for Gurmag Angler. That seems pretty good. Well, that's just insane. Alright. Activate this. Put in that. Equip to Thalia. And we're done there. Alright, so now we know Lewis is playing against Grixis. We'll board more appropriately. So I'll probably go Spiritkeeper in, Ballista in, probably Council's Judgments in, Path in. We'll go Recruiter out, Revoker out, even though we know my opponent has Grim Lavamancer. Probably trim this out. RBS. This is an experimental deck list. This is the first that I've played with it, but in the past when I've tested Spiritkeeper, it's been pretty good. It's very good against like Grixis colored decks that can't remove via exile. So what's nice about Spirit Keeper is that its power keeps going up and up and up as the game goes on against those decks. So while a card like Mirren Crusader in the early game is probably better against a lot of those decks, when it's like turn 12 or something like that, and there's like 6 creatures in the graveyard, it's just insane what that card is capable of doing. Similarly, Ballista just keeps getting better and better as the game goes on. Alright, turn 1 Delver. How do I want to play this game? I can just like try to Mize the free one off the Wasteland again, but I think I'd rather play out my Vial, see if my Vial resolves, and then go for the Swords to Plowshares plus Wasteland combo on turn 2. Looks like Lewis was F6. No counter spells here. Flips to a Diabolic Edict. Second Delver. Very glad I didn't Wasteland now. If my opponent has Stifle, it kind of sucks if I Stifle right here, but if I let my opponent go to the upkeep, then I give them a chance to like set up the Delver with Brainstorm or Brainstorm and Fetch. So I'll play into a Stifle here. Alright, so I know my opponent has Brainstorm and Diabolic Edict. There is said Brainstorm. Lewis just stopped and said, "Welp." Welp, hopefully we don't get paired again. Alright, and Lewis concedes after Brainstorm locking himself. Alright, so 2-0-4-0 versus Lewis CBR tonight. Let's see if we can go for 3-0-6-0 versus Lewis CBR. So while we're waiting here, just Lewis did not say very many salty things to me in chat. He does get a little salty sometimes. Like if you watched his streams before, that's very apparent. But it is like super unfortunate for him to get paired against a bad matchup twice in a row, where a very good player is playing that matchup. In fact, the same player twice. So like I can inform my decisions in the second match based on things that I saw in the first match. Like it's just not what you want to see in a league. RBS, was this something you sent to me like very recently? Like today? Then no. I don't see it in a quick check. I'll have to check again later. Would you just like send me a message like reminding me to look at that later? That would be helpful for me, because it's very likely that I'll forget while streaming. So I think my opponent plays Miracles, in which case this is not a good hand. But if my opponent is not playing Miracles, this could be a fantastic hand. So I think I keep it. And if they go, like, Flooded Strand go, I accept my fate. Haha! I like this hand against Underground Sea. I, in fact, really like this hand against Underground Sea. Ha 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 ha. This is a bully hand. About the only way I see losing this one is my opponent going, like, Hymn to Turok, take both of my planes this turn, and then I don't draw lands. Like, you know, obviously this game can drag on, and then my opponent can take it over, but, like, I have a very, very powerful short-term hand versus a Grixis control deck. So, like, Thoughtseize is kind of rough here, because you take one of these cards. If you take the Thalia, then I deploy Double Mom. If you take the Crusader, then I either deploy Double Mom or Thalia next turn, either of which would be quite annoying. Ooh, taking a Mom. Well, in that case, we'll take you off of blue and play out a Mom. If the Mom has answered, then I curve Thalia into Mirran Crusader. Ooh! Ooh! You missed your land drop. You missed your land drop. Note, I'm not even going to play Thalia there to, like, just take the chance that one of my opponent's last cards is, like, Force of Will plus blue card. I'm just going to 100% take that land. Yeah, we should be done here. Are you going to tell me that TCK EG Tapper has a family? All right, we're done. We're done. I'm not in charge of my opponent's happiness. All right, so we're probably going to board in like most of my sideboard for this matchup. Note that since we're playing Hallowed Spiritkeeper, we won't play Rest in Peace in this matchup, where otherwise we might consider doing so. All right. So I should probably cut one land. And I guess a pair of Wisps. Because they're bad against Baleful Strix. That looks about right. Ha! I disagree. You are 100% responsible to ensure their unhappiness. Yeah, I think my opponent played out that game for an appropriate amount of time. Like, once I started tapping mana for another threat, and they have 0 lands, and I have Thalia in play, like, it's very clear that that one's over. Oh, I too am a believer in the Magic as a zero-sum fun game. Yeah. You start out with half of the pie, and it's your goal to take the entire pie by the end of the game. Sweet. And my opponent mulliganed. How kind. I'll have to think about whether I play Chalice or Thalia, depending on what my opponent does with their turn. But I might just get himmed, and the decision might be made for me. Nope, Baleful Strix. So, playing Chalice first keeps them from cantripping. I don't think they have a Ponder. They might have, like, played it on turn 1. They might have a Brainstorm. If I play Thalia this turn and Chalice the next turn, and my opponent doesn't have 4 lands, and they can't just, like, K-command it, I don't really want my opponent to just go, like, land, Fatal Push Thalia, and then cantrip, though. So let's jam this. Yeah. No counterspells from my opponent. It just works. So I don't really want to play Thalia and give my opponent a good K-command setup for the next turn if they have a land. So I'm just going to, like, play towards the long game here. And I'm going to get a Ballista here. The Ballista at 4 mana can shoot down both copies of Baleful Strix over 2 turns while also just pumping itself. And if my opponent's K-command is just, like, Destroy Recruiter and Chalice, that's actually, like, super fine for me. Alright, let's see if I can get in 1 point of damage. Aha! I have stopped my opponent. This Chalice apparently doing some work. We might just get, like, a 100% free game here just off of this Ballista plus Chalice. And before someone says it, I'm not playing my Aether Vial because I have a Chalice on one. Just make sure everyone understands that. Alright, Culligan's command, destroy Chalice of the Void, return Baleful Strix. That's fine. Yeah, just forget the Chalice trigger. It'll be fine, right? That's how that works? You're just gonna play Jace here? Oh, Gurmag Angler. Hello. Well, that's fine. I don't care about that too much. How do I want to play this? I should probably just take this Gurmag Angler off the table. Note here that I'm like 100% okay with trading Recruiter of the Guard for Baleful Strix, because the more creatures I put into my graveyard, the better this Hallowed Spiritkeeper is going to be. Yeah, I could play Vial now, but I think I've got better use of my mana in the next 2 to 3 turns by not playing it. Alright, up to 4 colors. Tribal Flames for 4. Alright. K command, destroy Thalia, get Baleful Strix. Okay. Hey, hey. Ooh, man. How much of a greedy boy am I? I could just, like, Jailer 1 Strix, attack for 2, Ballista kill the other Strix, and start drawing infinite cards. Like, taking a Ballista line also means I can play Vial this turn. Yep. We a greedy boy. Yeah, technically I should have swung first to see if my opponent will trade for the Recruiter. So the Ballista was going to trade for the Strix anyway this turn, so like just going to damage is fine here. Alright, and now I can essentially just like hemorrhage cards into the board without really caring too much about my opponent having basically anything. I'll take cards that require a force of will for 100. Alright, so now my opponent could have a Deluge. Deluge away my board, but I'd bounce Thalia. And then I'd like cast a Chalice on one, Recruiter for another Spirit Keeper, play another Spirit Keeper or something like that. Alright, kicked Marsh Casualties. Okay, so let me look at how much mana I have. So I can go Chalice in 1, then play a 3-mana thing into a 2-mana thing. And also do Thalia. Or I could just go 2, 4, 6, 7. I could go 7 mana. I could just go like Recruiter for 2nd Hallowed Spiritkeeper and just play it out that way. Which is probably just better than casting my Chalice for 1 this turn. So I can go Recruiter, 3 mana, Spirit Keeper, 6 mana, hold up Caracas for Thalia. Ah, the Desperation Brainstorm. Oh, there's still that card drawing thing. After all that. Oh, we don't have enough cards? Well, we'll draw another one for turn, and then we'll draw another one at my end step. And we'll repeat that until my opponent's dead. So, we're probably okay. My opponent also might just be dead on the next turn here. Okay, so I can go for lethal here. I can Ether Vial, use 4 mana, hard cast, Sword of Fire and Ice, and use 2 mana to equip to Hallowed Spiritkeeper, and then I am presenting lethal this turn. I will go ahead and do so. If my opponent has a third K command, life can get interesting. Assassin's Trophy, targeting Hallowed Spiritkeeper. All right, my opponent just padding their life total here. Okay. I have 2 options here. Option 1 is pay 3 mana, cast Chalice of the Void on 1. Option 2 is equip Stoneforge Mystic with a sword, so that if my opponent wants to go and cast a Toxic Deluge, they have to pay for 4. I think I just want to go for the equip. Because, like, one of the only ways my opponent gets out of this game is deluging to kill all of these spirits. And if I play the Chalice, then I'm putting myself in a situation where I go and just, like, lose one more card than I have to, and if I just, like, drew a whole bunch of lands in a row, it'd be kind of unfortunate. So this also just plays around, like, Snapcaster Mage into kicked Marsh Casualties. Yeah, Batterskull is going to feel real good here. We'll leave this on 2 until I know what I want to do with it for sure. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so there's a couple of different ways that I can go and play this turn. I'm going to start just with the Chalice of the Void on 1. My opponent is F6'd. So I'm going to go with a Batterskull now. And I'm also going to equip it with Sword of Fire and Ice. So this plays around a Jace, just like bouncing the germ and making my life miserable. And if my opponent just has, like, one artifact destruction spell, like a Culligan's Command or something like that, it's not actually enough to prevent lethal. Because if they destroy the Batterskull, the germ still has a sword equipped. Alright, that does nothing to prevent lethal. Do a quick check for a Vendilion click. Diabolic Edict. Sacrifice that. Put nothing in. I'll leave that at 2 in case I draw a Thalia. Another Chalice of the Void. Okay. Now we go 1, 2, 3. Pick up the Batterskull. Five, play a Batterskull. 2, equip this. That's a great draw. Good news for my opponent is that they can try to become the Monarch. Bad news for my opponent is that they're dead to probably any one attack for the rest of the game. They will get another draw here from the Baleful Strix that was sort of out on loan. See if my opponent responds to this again. And my opponent concedes. So, let the record show that I just ground Grixis control into dust there with this build. Just throwing that out there. My opponent Baleful Strixed 1, 2, 3, 4 times that game. K-commanded twice. Toxic Deluged once. Marsh Casualties once. And I still won. Just throwing it out there. That's something that happened. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and use the restroom before the next round begins. I will be right back, chat. Alright, I'm back. Hello everyone, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site dedicated to legacy D&T. We are currently 3-0 in matches and 6-0 in games with the version of D&T that I brewed up for today, and it's feeling pretty good so far. So on Wednesday, we'll be back, and I'm looking to do an Infect stream with special guest Nick Miller as one of our donation goals. And on Saturday, it looks like we're probably playing a Tainted Pact deck list, which should be something a little bit special. I'm looking forward to that. So before I get started here again, I just want to thank my sponsors, Cardboard Live. They have the Suite extension that's on probably that side of the screen for you all. You can click it to check out anything about your deck list questions. And I also want to thank Card Hoarder for letting me borrow the cards for this deck. I got to borrow a Ballista, so I didn't have to buy a second one. Question in the chat. Hey Phil, I haven't been able to catch the stream lately since I started college. Can you give me your brief thoughts on Chalice so far? Mainly what matchups you're bringing it in? Thank you for your amazing content. And thank you for the bits. So Cletus, essentially, the idea is that the metagame's really fair right now, so you can skimp on Graveyard Hate a little bit as compared to what you've done previously. And I don't think Aethersworn Canonist is particularly amazing right now. So rather than play combo hate cards that are sort of more specific to hating out certain strategies, if combo's at a low, why not play something more powerful that can be brought in for fair matchups? So I'm bringing Chalice of the Void in for combo decks like you might expect, things like Show and Tell and Ant, but also for the fair matchups like Miracles and Grixis Control. But in doing so, you have to make some changes to how you sideboard. So for example, against the fair decks where I'm bringing in Chalice, I'm often boarding out both Swords to Plowshares and Mom, leaving myself with just 4 Aether Vials as my 1-drops. Yeah, I don't think it's close. Chalice of the Void is just clearly better versus Storm than Canonist. Except when they like Hurkyl's Recall. No, Canonist gets hit by Hurkyl's Recall too, so it's irrelevant. At SCG Baltimore, like, what was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago now? I played against Bryant Cook, who plays Tess, and I put like a Chalice on 0 and a Chalice on 1, I think, and it was rough life after that. My opponent's last trophy is with Pox, although they've also played Blue-Eyed Red Stoneblade, Miracles, some 4-color pile sort of thing, and a handful of other decks, including Dragon Stompy. So my opponent's mulligan, I'm just going to keep a reasonable hand, not knowing what they're playing. Reanimator, probably. Sean, I don't know why your Rug Delver matchup would be getting worse. If it is getting worse, it's probably something that the Rug players are doing specifically to beat you, not something that the changes your deck... Sorry, let me rephrase that. Not anything that the changes you've made to your deck recently have done to affect the matchup. If your deck is full of things like, you know, Crusaders and Sarah Avengers and Flicker Wisps, Thalia, Moms, all the normal shenanigans, you probably shouldn't have that much trouble. That being said, it's not like the matchup is just free, right? Holy shit, my opponent had such a heads-up play there. So they took my Walking Ballista, and I was intending on just, like, casting Walking Ballista for 0 to clear the Chancellor trigger so that I could do all of my normal stuff, and my opponent saw through that. So by taking that play, they essentially make me blow my Aether Vial instead so that I can play Thalia on turn 2. Well played, opponent. Oh man, after all of that, do they just have like Entomb into Reanimate this turn? That'd be a little tilting. Yeah, they do. I mean, if I draw a Caracas or a Swords, we're in real good shape. Even a Mother of Runes would be fine, so we can go like Mother of Runes into Flicker Wisp and try to like mitigate the damage. Well, that was a really insane turn. Animate Dead on the Chancellor means that I can't actually cast a 2-drop this turn. So I need to rip Caracas. Okay, a 1-drop is fine. Unfortunately, I kind of have like a 1-turn window to draw something else. And my opponent can get 7 more cards if they so desire. But I don't think taking 7 more cards is correct. If my opponent can't produce another creature, and I just like draw Caracas, bounce Grizzlebrand, it's super devastating. No, I do not bring Chalice in against Shadow. Chalice is a good card against Shadow, but it's not a part of your primary game plan. Your removal spells are so good in that matchup that you don't want to shut them off. Alright, Mom plus Flicker Wisp would have been fine if not for the Chancellor tax here. So now we are just dead. And that's fine. Alright. So I changed my board a bit, but I was going -4 Mom, -3 Equipment, -4 Stone Forges, -1 Land, plus a Relic Warder, plus the Chalices, plus the Rest in Peace, the Recruiters, the Council Judgments, the Palace Jailers. That puts me at 58. Alright, I changed things around for this stream. So I'm like trying out the Walking Ballistas and the Hallowed Spiritkeepers. So how does that change? So I probably want... the path is awkward. Probably play the path. Reanimator is the one matchup where, like, the decision to play these Chalices like I am is super awkward. Because it's poor. It's a good card in the matchup, but so are these removal spells, and you shut them off. And, like, doing this also means you board out some cards that are otherwise fine in the matchup. Like, Mother of Runes plus a flyer can go and stonewall some opposing stuff. So, like, there's some tension here. This Ballista is also medium. Maybe I'm supposed to play these Ballistas, though, purely to clear Chancellor triggers. That's not the craziest thing. Some of these cards, like Hallowed Spiritkeeper, are not going to be stellar in this matchup. So maybe I should play like 2 Stone Forges and a Batterskull over some of my other top end. Go like... Or maybe Ballista Clearing is... No, Ballista Clearing's probably fine. Whatever, I'll run this. I'll think about it some more if I go to a game 3. When I'm on the draw, I kind of like having more 2-drops to play. Well, this hand is pretty stellar. Opponent apparently has a tricky one to think about. Alright, no Chancellor this time. Plains, Vile, go. Note that I'm not going to play Chalice of the Void on 0. They don't actually have that many 0 drops. Okay, what is the scariest thing they can do to me? The scariest thing they can do to me is Entomb into Reanimate, or Entomb into Animate Dead. So let's drop the Rip. Okay, that one was that easy. Okay. So now that I'm on the draw, do I actually want to change out some of these bodies for like Stoneforge, Batterskull? Could see cutting this. Ballista just as a way to stop Chancellor triggers is super awkward. I don't even know if that's good enough. But, like, it conceptually makes sense to me. So if I was going to do this, I'd drop this guy. I don't want to do it. Just playing out things with power and toughness is probably fine. Alright, is turn 2 Chalice good enough? I don't have, like, I only have 2 Rest in Pieces to mull to. I can't answer any creatures with this hand. And if my opponent puts a fatty into play on turn 1 or turn 2, then this doesn't do enough. I'm going to ship this one. This hand has a very good chance of winning if I get a land. That is not a land. We'll put that on bottom. Alright, opponent has Chancellor. I can clear that with Ballista. So, whatever my opponent gets, I'm going to sit here and think for like 20 or 30 seconds. And I'm just going to, like, pretend that I'm thinking about whether or not I want to use a Fairy Macabre or a Surgical right now. And then see if I can get them to, like, use a discard spell on me rather than just, like, directly reanimate that. So I'll just sit here, just kind of pause, and then go. Alright. Opponent has none of that. Odds of winning this game are low, but non-zero. unmask, getting a sire. That will be the end of the game. Because if I draw Swords to Plowshares, I can't actually cast it because there's still the Chancellor trigger from the beginning of the game. And all this stuff gets cleared here. So my opponent will just attack me, not draw cards, pass the turn. I'm not even playing any Steamkins. I don't even know what a Steamkin is. Sounds like it might be a standard card. We don't do that on this channel. Kithkin, sure, those I know. It's a 1/1 elemental that grows up to 3 times. Okay. Well, that is a neat little card there. I'm sure that sees some love in other formats. I guess you can do things with that. I don't know. Yes, okay. That's the sort of BS I was looking for there. Yeah, playing it with Grinning Ignis. My opponent played lands a while back. That doesn't necessarily mean they play lands now. I'm going to keep this hand. It's very, very reasonable. Yes. So Cyrus CG has been streaming with that. It's been really cool. So for anyone not familiar, bonus round lets you copy a spell that you cast. So if you cast bonus round and then you cast another spell, that next spell and every other spell after it gets copied. So like you cast bonus round and then you cast a ritual and you get the ritual twice. And it kind of just ramps up in insanity from there. You beat the lands player in the challenge by not paying the tabernacle tax on your Spirit Keeper. All right, that's an achievement right there. Check that box. Portent targeting themselves. Sure. So if my opponent doesn't do something real quick, I am just going to free roll this game. Because I'm going to get Thalia, which is protected from Swords to Plowshares, into Sanctum Prelate, which I'll put on 6. God, I would never, ever, ever want to play that bonus round deck on paper. Sweet Jesus, I would not want to do that. Merit Lodge can't beat 5/1/1s. Confirmed. Basically unplayable. So my opponent can't literal counterspell this. They can Force of Will. Now they can't Force of Will. Now it just resolves. Nope. Alright. So now all of my opponent's removal except for like a Supreme Verdict has been shut off. Yeah, so like Supreme Verdict is the big one. If my opponent runs a 1 of EE, that could do it as well. Otherwise, it's getting to weird territory where you do things like cast a Snapcaster Mage, block, get me to protect, and go from there. So if my opponent has Swords to Plowshares, they Swords to Plowshares one of these creatures. Which one would they Swords to Plowshares? I guess Mother of Runes? So that they can try to set up a Terminus and sweep the board? Do I just want to try to shove here? So if they Swords to Plowshares my mom, then I can go like 7/7, assume they fetch and they kill themselves. I think I like that. I could also flicker this. So I kind of like that because the only way they would make that Snapcaster Mage play is if they have a Swords to Plowshares in hand. So I can just flicker this, put it on 1, and then hope they don't luck sack into a Terminus. Which I'm going to do. I considered not attacking with it, but in order for the attack to not be correct, my opponent has to have both Snapcaster Mage and Swords to Plowshares in hand, which it seemed like they did. But it's possible I should have not attacked there and then just played one more Mother of Runes. And then I could have attacked in following turns super safely. I decided to press my advantage, which may or may not have been correct. Alright. So before, I was boarding out my mom's, my Swords to Plowshares, 1 Wasteland, 1 Mirren Crusader. This would leave me 1 over. All right. So what would I not want of this stuff? Hallowed Spiritkeeper's only medium. Like, it stops things that get countered or Sorry, to rephrase, it gets bigger when things get countered or when things trade with, like, Snapcasters or Mentors or stuff like that, but a lot of the removal is exile-based, so it's basically just a 3/2. A 3/2 Vigilant, though. That does matter. Maybe that's not actually better than just Crusader, which clocks harder. Yeah, I think I like this. It's also possible I should board in Leon and... Oh, wait, this is 61. Oops. In this matchup, do you play out Jailer as soon as possible? I know this is a cop-out answer, but the answer is, it depends. Oh man, that was like literal best draw in my entire deck right there. So, if you can win without necessarily risking Jailer hitting play, then a lot of times it's correct to do so. Ooh, my opponent scryed to the top and then fetched away. That could have been just like a bluff scry, knowing that they were going to fetch away anyway. But it seems like they want to brainstorm and try to answer this file. Yep. So if you can win without risking the Jailer, it's a very good idea to do so. But a lot of other times, you can just like stick a turn 4 Jailer, and if they can't take that Monarch in the first couple of turns, you might just run away with the game. All right, Force Pitch Verdict. Deal. My opponent is down to 2 cards. And I'm going to Chalice on one of them. It resolves. No, I never keep any Swords to Plowshares in against Miracles unless they show me some wacky sideboard plan with a whole bunch of creatures. Note, normally you get Sword of Fire and Ice versus Miracles, but this game is like so far over that just getting something else that can clock seems correct. Alright, well that was easy. 4-1. Very little work involved. Alright. So, this deck list felt absolutely amazing every fair round that we played of this league, right? So, we played against Grixis Delver twice, and we just crushed. We played against Miracles and Grixis Control, and we crushed. None of the games were close. The only time that we lost was against Reanimator, which is as expected, right? So I went and I cut my Graveyard Hate from this deck, essentially to play a more fair metagame. Or sorry, to play a more fair set of matchups. and that decision was very much rewarded in 4 of the 5 rounds. Are there slots in the board that we can swap out for surgicals? Sure, but why would you? So, like, just looking at all these tools, if you're fighting against, like, just looking at the top decks of the format, if you're fighting against Miracles, Grixis Control, D&T, Death Shadow Delver, and, like, what's right below that, maybe something like Ant, Sneak and Show, and I don't know what else. But, like, with the exception of Red-Black Reanimator, I like this configuration of the deck better in every single case. And note that by, like, this configuration, I mean something like either one of these, where we're going and playing more cards for fair matchups, and we're increasing our ability to grind through what our opponents is doing. I don't necessarily mean, like, you have to be playing Spirit Keeper or anything like that. Like, some of the graveyard hate that you would want to play plays poorly with these chalices, and I think Chalice is just 100% correct in D&T right now. It's so incredibly powerful, and it's really warping a lot of matchups in my favor that maybe shouldn't be in my favor. The Miracles matchup in particular has felt vastly improved by the presence of Chalice, and I'm actually winning way more against Grixis Control than I used to be as well. Alright, I think that's all I have to say about this deck list. I guess this one was gonna be kind of a short stream. That's okay. Was that D&T with Leyline of the Void, or was I seeing things? You might have seen this deck list that went by quickly. Let me pull some of these sweet cards over. This is what I've been playing with off stream. I was messing around with this on, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday afternoon. I really like this deck list. I think this is pretty good. This deck's really hard to play, though. Of note, this is the donation deck list that I'm going to play when we go and hit 2 more donation deck lists. Not trying to, like, shamelessly plug that, just, like, making it as a statement. I've been working on this deck off stream. Not 100% sold on Vraska Golgari Queen yet, but I like pretty much everything else that's going on. Assassin's Trophy has felt great, especially, like, just having answers to, like, opposing Planeswalkers is amazing. Also, just, like, being able to destroy one of your opponent's basic lands is really good once you already have, like, the Wasteland lock going, and they're just down to, like, 1 more land. You just, like, Assassin's Trophy it, and it's gone. Knight of the Autumn out of the sideboard has been stellar. I kind of want to work a second one of those in. Do I have one of my Maverick lists up? That's not the one. I don't have it up right now. I've also been working on a Maverick deck that has Knight of Autumn in it. Not 100% sure on what the numbers are supposed to be on, like, Green-White Maverick yet, but Knight of Autumn is really, really good. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it here for the evening, and I'm going to try to send you over to someone else who's playing some Legacy. Again, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, and I'm going to be streaming again on Wednesday. I'll be streaming Infect with special guest Nick Miller. And if you've enjoyed what I've been doing today, please consider doing something to support my channel, whether that be following, subscribing, or submitting a donation deck list to see something sweet on stream. Today's D&T deck list that I hope you enjoyed was brought to you by Felchmaster 9000, and I hope to see you all again soon. Good night.